Trapped and terrified, the people found themselves surrounded, their enemies pressing in from all sides. A once great civilization stood on the brink of total annihilation. Witnessing this dire situation, a group of brilliant minds felt a profound despair. The reasons for their predicament were lost to history. All that mattered was finding a path to salvation. Driven by this desperate need, they toiled relentlessly, day and night, to create something, anything, that could save their nation from the encroaching darkness. And so, the Golem was born, a colossal robot, a titan of steel and fire, capable of flight, firing lasers from its eyes, and seeing through the deepest deceptions. It was more than a weapon. It was a perfect guardian, capable of intercepting any transmission and finding a single needle in a haystack of global chaos. From the lab, Golem went straight to the battlefield. What followed was nothing short of a miracle. Their enemies, once confident, now faced a force beyond comprehension. Their enemies scattered at its mere sight. Those who dared to stand were swiftly dealt with. The tide of war had turned in a single thunderous moment. Cheers of victory echoed across the land. The scientists and engineers, once hidden in despair, were now the saviors of their people. They were hailed as gods. The arrival of Golem sowed division among their adversaries. Some sought peace, others a ceasefire, while a few remained defiant, though their numbers dwindled by the hour. With Golem by their side, this once beleaguered people, the few, could now dictate terms to the world. The power dynamic had shifted irrevocably. The wise ones rejoiced, believing their people had finally found the peace that the world had denied them for millennia. They dreamed of a future without conflict. Yet, their people had other plans. Instead of pursuing lasting peace, they embraced war as the ultimate solution. Hubris had begun its slow, toxic creep. Intoxicated by Golem's power, they believed nothing was beyond their reach. They saw the world not as a place for integration, but as a domain to be conquered. The wise ones warned them. War was unsustainable, incapable of solving all problems. They pleaded for a return to the path of diplomacy and understanding. They argued that true salvation lay in turning enemies into friends through peace. But their voices were drowned out by the roar of the war machine. However, the people ignored these warnings. With each victory, their arrogance swelled. They believed they were the authors of their own destiny, untouchable and supreme. They dispatched Golem far beyond their borders, meddling in the affairs of other countries, inciting conflict and sowing chaos in the name of security. They meddled in the affairs of others, sowing chaos to maintain their dominance. When their demands weren't met, the Golem was sent in to enforce their will. Their enemies suffered immensely. Golem brought devastation and horrific loss of life. But even in the face of such power, the spirit of defiance began to grow. But their enemies refused to yield. The victorious people couldn't comprehend this defiance. They had forgotten that their adversaries shared many of their own traits. They shared a fierce spirit, a stubborn refusal to be broken. And, most perilously of all, they had a very, very long memory. The wise ones grew increasingly concerned. Their people were isolating themselves, fueling hatred rather than seeking integration. The foundation of their world was rotting. Even those who yielded did so out of fear, not respect. The result was a nation built on shaky ground, forever hanging beneath the shadow of a threat they chose to ignore. A nation forever hanging beneath the sword of Damocles. Their leaders, consumed by thoughts of future conquests, had forgotten the ever-present threat at their doorstep. The populace, focused on immediate gratification, had forgotten the ever-present threat. They lived in a bubble of luxury, unaware that the air was about to change. Then one day, as Golem was on the attack, it faltered. The impossible happened. The invincible machine began to fail, and the world watched in silence. The Golem crashed to the ground. The miracle was over. Their enemies erupted in cheers, their fear replaced by a sudden, fierce realization of opportunity. Their enemies erupted in cheers, swiftly recovering the fallen colossus. They dragged it to their secret labs, determined to replicate its power and turn it against its creators, taking it to their labs to replicate its power. The secrets of the Golem were laid bare, and the cycle of war was about to enter a new, even more terrifying phase. The wise ones immediately built another Golem, one that was stronger and faster. They hoped this new guardian would restore the order they had lost. But when this new guardian entered the fray, it was met by not one, but several enemy Golems. The secrets had been shared, and the odds were no longer in their favor. The battle was fierce. Though the new Golem emerged victorious in the first skirmish, it was damaged, its armor scarred by the relentless assault. The next day, even more golems awaited. The world watched in bated breath as the brutal dance continued, a spectacle of destruction that seemed never-ending. This brutal dance continued for days. Their people, still envisioning a celebration of triumph, buzzed with anticipation, unaware of the impending fall. The world was watching in bated breath. The anticipation was thick, but beneath it lay a growing sense of dread that even the golem could not dispel. But after a week, the new golem fell. The silence that followed was more deafening than any explosion. The guardian was gone. Silence descended. Nothing now stood between them and their enemies. The shield was broken, and the hammer had shattered in their hands. They pleaded for peace, offering all their wealth and knowledge. They even reminded their adversaries of past kindnesses, hoping to buy back the safety they had discarded. But their words fell on deaf ears. They had left no good memories, only a legacy of arrogance. As each enemy golem pressed forward, their hearts sank. A mistake for which they would pay a very, very heavy price. The legacy of the golem had come full circle, and the cost was everything they held dear. What do you think? Was the golem a savior or a curse? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. We want to hear your perspective. Please share it in the comment section below. Subscribe for more stories that explore the human condition. Yours, the Counselor SFTG.